Okay, gang, here we go. So, Bitcoin claimed the 70,000. And remember, in last night's live stream, we were talking about the idea it needs to claim 70,500 to sustain the idea of it going further. Today's a big day. We've got Google announcements coming out, which will be at the open. Let me tell you, and get you a little bit dizzy with this little video footage I'm doing. Try and avoid trading the actual open. And when I say the open, I'm talking about the New York Open. This is when Google will be declaring its earnings. The actual company, Alphabet, will be declaring whether or not they have been doing well in this quarter. Now, AI sector itself has it's been looking positive only because of NVIDIA, because NVIDIA is the one that's doing the flavor. But Google's now going to give us an understanding of how well advertisers are coming onto the platform, how many people are searching, what's their cloud services like, are people in demand for their cloud products? Remember, Google doesn't really sell AI products per se, not in comparison to NVIDIA. So it's going to be interesting to see what the economy has been like, or what have people's behaviors been like in regards to Google and its services. If we do get a bad reading with Google, that's going to be bad news for the marketplace, especially the NASDAQ. But we're going into an election. So what bad news could come out? They're going to try and paint a beautiful picture that everything is all good. Remember, like I said, we need to see an explosive move to the upside, which will naturally trigger the contractionary phase that we are waiting for in the stock market. Because it can't go up forever, guys. It really can't. So what we're going to do now is go straight to the charts, because the sun's smacking me in the face and I haven't got the patience for it. Let's get with the program, gang. So here we have it, ladies and gentlemen. So the day is starting somewhat positive because we've got news announcements coming out very, very soon. So to put into perspective, here we go. On Tuesday, we've got Google, Alphabet declaring their earnings. Now, just quickly looking into Google, because this is going to help us understand Bitcoin's movement. We can see that Google's currently trying to hold out in this base around the 170 and the 160 region itself. If they do smash their expectations, that's going to be a good sign for the AI marketplace. Remember, NVIDIA is the one that's really leading the marketplace, but Google is going to tell us how consumers are actually behaving. And more importantly, how many advertisers are coming to the Google platform wanting to advertise. Because if they're wanting to advertise, that means they're creating products that they want to sell. And if they are wanting to advertise, it means that they feel that there's going to be a demand for it. And if they do believe that consumers are going to be getting ready to spend money, even though they are absorbing all of this madness in inflation and, of course, high interest rates, that is naturally going to be then reflected in Google's ad revenue itself. Okay, looking at the volumes down below, you can see yesterday Google did see a big push in volume. Nearly around 16 million shares were traded, nearly 20 million shares were traded yesterday, and it did bring volume above average. So that could be a tell that there could be some more movement coming into Google at the open. Now, I will say this to you all, guys, just be very careful if you're trading at the open. The NASDAQ and the S&P will be reacting very aggressively if Google does well and if Google doesn't do well. Just wait until you know exactly what the data is regarding Google and then come to the charts and work out where you are looking to take on risk. Put it into perspective, ladies and gentlemen. You've got this over here. JOLTS job openings are coming out and consumer confidence is coming out at 9 a.m. Once the market does open, we're absorbing Google's returns and we're absorbing what the JOLTS job openings market is going to be like. Now, we haven't really been focusing too much on the interest rates and whether the Fed's going to be cutting or not. Why? Because it's all on the election and it's all on earnings. That's all it is, because the earnings are going to tell us if people are consuming. And if these businesses are declaring great readings on their earnings estimates, that only means what? Assets like Bitcoin are just going to keep on moving up because assets like the NASDAQ and the S&P will continue to move higher. Now, for Bitcoin traders, what you've got to be mindful of is this. If Bitcoin can actually retain above the 5 and 13 EMA on the daily time frame today, now, if it were to come down towards the 13 EMA, we've got ourselves a big problem because that would be a very sharp correction if I were to mark it down for you. From the current price point, Bitcoin would principally go down 4.5%, minus 4.5%. That would be a crazy drop on Bitcoin if it were to drop from these highs. But let's be a little bit optimistic, Tino, because that's not what's going to happen. Something drastic would have to happen for Bitcoin to do that. Now, if you're a holder, you're probably looking at the charts thinking, yeah, man, I'm waiting for Bitcoin to claim the all-time high. Well, the all-time high is very, very close, but we also have the rest of the week, which can give Bitcoin more reasoning to go higher. If Google does well, we would then make the assumption that tomorrow Microsoft and Meta are also going to do well. On top of that, Thursday, we've got Apple and Amazon that could potentially be looking to do well. So the Magnificent Seven are effectively declaring their earnings, and this is going to be fueling whether or not the NASDAQ is going to take out that beautiful all-time high, the 21,000. We want to see NASDAQ clear the 21,000 and beyond. The S&P is very close towards its 6,000 zone. Look how close we are to 6,000. Even estimates are coming out saying that they wish they had projected S&P to finish higher at the end of the year, and they're trying to reevaluate everything. And this is the problem that I've got, ladies and gentlemen. Most companies who are giving ratings on what stocks to buy to their clients, they're all having to pull everything in and revise that sentiment and project prices higher. Now, remember what I said at the start of the week. If the illusion of the market looks like it's complacent and everyone's like happy days going long and buying and consuming in terms of high risk on assets, we haven't had a contraction yet, guys. And if the Fed is going to turn around and change its policy and say we're going to pause or even increase interest rates just so they can still get to that mandated target of 2% on inflation, the market's going to pull back quite aggressively. It doesn't help that the bonds are just dropping and dropping, but the yields are going up. And that's why NASDAQ and S&P mainly NASDAQ, hasn't actually been able to clear the all-time high. But Bitcoin is bucking the trend. In front of you, you've got the data from the ETF. And we've saw this post here. It says 4.3 billion inflows for Bitcoin in the last 12 days. 479 million came in yesterday. It's safe to say that Bitcoin's price action has been consistent with accumulation, with the anticipation of a break to the upside. Now, granted, we've been seeing Bitcoin going against the NASDAQ, going in line with the NASDAQ. In other words, when the NASDAQ drops, Bitcoin drops. When the NASDAQ rises, Bitcoin rises. But right now, Bitcoin is doing the opposite. Bitcoin is just going for it. Now, rather than be like, oh my God, all bullish and what have you, just remember you're effectively trading an all-time high breakout. So please just take something into consideration with this. Once they do clear the all-time high, what you got to be careful of is there'll be a lot of people that are currently caught in break-even situations. They're all monitoring the charts right now, wondering if they should hold onto their Bitcoin purchase or get rid of it in case they fear that it might actually reject these zones again. This area here has been consistent with Bitcoin rejecting. So there's going to be a bit of a psychological challenge on a lot of investors. But when you see that the data is consistent with accumulation of purchases in Bitcoin, I mean, look, what was the article that I saw? If I go into it, here we go, look at this. BlackRock, 397,227 Bitcoins. These guys have surpassed MicroStrategy. And MicroStrategy ain't too happy about that. Of course, it's BlackRock. What do you expect? So with this accumulation in Bitcoin, naturally we are going to be expecting some volatility. At the same time, remember, it's Wall Street that's holding this Bitcoin. And that means Wall Street will have the same mentality like it always does by serving the investors. In other words, when you see Bitcoin clearing out this range, don't go too much into crypto mode. Hold on to the ride to the upside, to the moon kind of thing. Just monitor your expectations. Take something off the table just in case Bitcoin does a blowout move to the upside. Everyone buys, and then that's what's going to trigger a very sharp pullback because we ain't even had the election yet. And there's still volatility due to come for that. We ain't even had the monthly candle close just yet. And the monthly candle close is looking very promising, ladies and gentlemen, because you can see it's doing all right. Or is it? Yes, it is. Look at this. It's surpassed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 monthly candles, and it's about to surpass this last monthly candle as well. If it can sustain this area and continue, then ladies and gentlemen, we're going to see some positive movements in Bitcoin. If you do anything about it, you make money on it, happy days. Remember, it won't always go up, but it will go up, but it will pull back, and that pullback is where you then start committing some money, buying it on the cheap, to effectively sell it on the next attempt higher. So with that being said, guys, it's an exciting day. Bitcoin is making moves to the upside. Remember, Google will be declaring its earnings at the open. So just be monitoring your positions in case you do get a little bit of volatility. Bitcoin doesn't really react straight away to any earnings from the big cap stocks. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. But just pay attention to that data. If it's good for Google, it's going to end up being good for Bitcoin, because if people are buying now, they're just waiting to see if Google is going to deliver, and it's going to give them more of a reason to keep on buying. Remember, When people are buying, someone is selling. When you start seeing the selling slow down and where price is going up and it's not really going up, you could be getting into some resistance. Pay yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, accordingly, and I'll be checking in with you soon. Mad love and respect. Peace.